Hey everyone, it's Professor Clark, and in this lecture, which is going to be quite short, we are going to do a basic overview of how to talk about different modes of transport. So this is related to our topic of this chapter, which is verbs of motion. And one of the things you need to know is how to indicate motion using different modes of transport, and that's what this lecture is going to be about. Let's start off with how to say that you want to take a form of transport, like to take a bus, to take a train, and so on and so forth. And in general, in Russian, we indicate that with the construction ехать or ездить. Remember, these are these vehicular verbs of motion, plus na plus the prepositional. So that's ехать or ездить, plus na plus the prepositional. For example, ехать на автобусе is to take a bus. Ехать на поезде is to take a train. Ехать на машине is to take a car or to travel by car. The exception, however, is the word taxi, taxi, and in Russian you can взять taxi, which means to take a taxi. This is probably a borrowing from French, so the ехать на автобусе, for example, is the native Russian form, and then they frequently borrow constructions from French, and so we have this взять taxi, to take a taxi, and then you can also брать or взять машину, which is to rent a car. So again, in general, you want to use a vehicular motion verb plus na plus the prepositional, but you can literally take a taxi or take a car, meaning to rent a car. Now let's talk about when to use na versus when to use va when we're talking about vehicles. And in general, na plus the prepositional, which you remember literally means on something, indicates the type of transport you're taking. So, for instance, мы всегда ездим на автобусе means we always take the bus. However, va plus the prepositional, which you remember means inside an enclosed space, is when you're describing the situation inside some form of transport. For instance, в автобусе всегда тесно и душно. In the bus, it's always crowded and stuffy. And so you see the difference between the two. Мы всегда ездим на автобусе, we always take the bus. We're indicating what kind of transport we're riding on. Versus в автобусе всегда тесно и душно. Inside the bus, we're emphasizing that you're inside an enclosed space. It's always crowded and stuffy. And finally, let's talk about boarding transport, or the different ways you can say to get on some form of transport. And in general, we use the verb садиться or сесть to sit down. And notice that садиться or сесть is a verb of motion, and so it takes the accusative. The question is whether you use va plus accusative or na plus accusative. So we use va to describe getting into a car or taxi. So мы сели в машину. We got in the car, just like you would in English. You get in a car in English, you get in a car in Russian. We can use either va or na plus the accusative for buses, trains, planes, and the metro, which is similar to English. So we can say мы сели на метро, we got on the metro. Мы сели в самолет, we boarded the plane. But you can really switch back and forth between either va or na for buses, trains, planes, and the metro. Most forms of public transport will take either va or na. And then finally, when we have things that you actually ride on, like bicycles, scooters, and motorcycles, and also boats where you are standing on top of them, we always use na plus accusative. So, я села на велосипед is I got on the bike. And again, we do the same thing in English, where you are either sitting on a bicycle or a scooter, or you are standing on a boat. And so just like in English, in Russian, we use na or on plus the accusative to indicate boarding or getting on these forms of transport. So there you go. I hope you found that helpful. It's not actually that complicated. The important thing to remember is that садиться, сесть is a verb of motion, and so we use the accusative with it.